Mr. President, I just would like the chamber to know that today marks the 88th birthday of one of the great members of this Senate body, a true American hero, former Majority Leader Bob Dole. And as I reflect on the extraordinary life he has led, and I had the privilege of serving under him as a United States Senator and working with him in the private sector, getting to know he and his wife well, I cannot help but note that the leadership that he provided, in comparison to the lack of leadership that is being provided in this body now, stands in great contrast. There's an absence of leadership here and a seriousness of purpose that Bob Dole would never have allowed had he been Majority Leader. I say that because I come to the floor today greatly troubled by the remarks that were made here in this Senate yesterday and again this morning by the Majority Leader regarding the bill that is before us. The issue here takes two tracks. One of which is the content of the amendment and the bill that is before us, that was voted on by the House of Representatives, passed by the House of Representatives, and sent over for us to debate and pass here. We can disagree, and I think there's been some misrepresentation of what this bill actually does. We can disagree about the contents of it, but we have an obligation and responsibility to debate those contents and to put every member of this body on a position of saying yea or nay on amendments that might be offered to improve it or to change it or to modify it, and finally, whether or not to support it or not support it. The vote here this morning denies us that opportunity. This is a vote on a motion to table. You know, there's a couple of definitions of table. One is more than a couple, but one of those is tabling or getting to the table to negotiate something, just as the NFL players and owners are doing, and much more seriously and with much more consequences to our future of this country, what we ought to be doing. Putting it on the table, debating it, and addressing it, expressing your support or non-support, defending it, characterizing mischaracterizations. That's what this body is about. The world's greatest deliberative body is deciding not to deliberate this bill at all. The second definition of the table is taking it off the table. So the Majority Leader has said, I'm not going to allow you to debate it. I'm not going to allow amendments. I'm not going to allow an up or down vote so the American people know what we are. This is a vote to table, so we don't even have the opportunity to debate it. Now, it was the Majority Leader himself who said we're going to be in session every day until we get this thing settled. And now he comes down here and says, I'm not going to waste one more day on this, and yet there is nothing on the agenda. Senators who were told to be here every day, there will be a vote on Saturday, are now told we're having a vote this morning on Friday at 10 o'clock, and then you can go home for the weekend, and hasn't even told us when we need to come back. What kind of a contradiction is that? What kind of leadership is that? We don't know whether we're supposed to be here or not supposed to be here. Are we supposed to be debating what's happening with this, one of the most serious crises that we're facing the country has ever seen, particularly in the financial area? It is the most serious, perhaps except for the Great Depression. And we're told we don't even have time to debate this. This is a waste of time. I quote the unbelievable statements that have been made by the Majority Leader. This piece of legislation is about as weak and senseless as anything that has ever come on this Senate floor? Really? I could spend a half an hour talking about senseless legislation, egregious legislation, discriminatory legislation that has come to this floor and been debated and not just tabled, to characterize the serious efforts of the members of the House of Representatives and members of the Senate, including some Democrat members, of trying to fix this problem, to characterize that as senseless and wasteless. I'm not going to spend one more day on time, he said, on this senseless information. I thought on reflection, the Majority Leader would come here this morning and say, perhaps I overstated the problem. Let me better explain where I think we are and where we need to go. But no, he comes down, he doubles down this morning. doubles down and says it's very, very bad piece of legislation, without merit. It gets in the way. It gets in the way. Talking about dealing with cutting spending that we know we can't afford. Talk about putting some caps on it so we don't keep doing this in the future and so we have a path to fiscal responsibility. Talking about a balanced budget so we live within our means. That's getting in the way. This body has failed its responsibility to be faithful to the Constitution and faithful to the people of America. And as a consequence of that, we're sitting here saying we're not even going to debate something that is brought forward with hundreds, if not thousands of hours of effort. And maybe you don't like it, and maybe you don't agree with it. Well, stand up and say so, and tell us what you want to do about it. The majority leader and party has not brought one piece of legislation to this floor. The President of the United States has not offered one number, one proposal in writing that we can work with. We have not had the opportunity to debate for 1 minute anything that the other side has offered. And so we bring something forward, and it's called a worthless piece of junk. Is that what the American people sent us here to do? I came here to find a result to the dire fiscal situation that our people are in. And the majority leader comes down here and says, we are not responding to the will of the people. Where has he been? What planet is he on? Responding to the will of the people, they're sick and tired of government spending more money than it has. They're sick and tired of being told they're handing over to their children debts they're never going to be able to pay. And we're told here that we want to take this off the table so that we can't even debate it. I woke up in the middle of the night so frustrated and so angry after spending last evening saying, I'm hopeful that we could come together and work something out. And the well gets poisoned last evening by the majority leader and gets poisoned again this morning. And those of us who have worked our tails off to try to get something done are told that this is a piece of crap, piece of junk. That's not what I came here to do. That's not what we came here to do. I didn't come here to get mad this morning. I came here to be senatorial, and I've apparently not done that. But I'm just tired of this stuff that goes around in here when Democrats and Republicans, and the majority leader knows it, are meeting in back rooms together, signing letters together to the president to ask him to step up. 32 Democrats and 32 Republicans. The president ignores that and does nothing until at the very end, and he comes here to try to bail it out and say, look at me, I took care of everything, while America is worried to death about the future. And to say we haven't done anything except put forward a worthless piece of legislation, it's so worthless we're not even going to allow you to talk about it or debate about it. We're not even going to allow amendments to take place. We're not even going to give it the respect that it's due. So you don't like it. Well, come down here and tell us you don't like it, and let us have a vote on why you don't like it, instead of just simply saying, take it off the table. I guess we're all getting frustrated. It's 100 and some degrees heat index outside, and I can understand people getting worked up about all this sort of thing. But the future of America is at stake, and this majority leader is not allowing us to deal with it. With that, I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Senator from Nebraska.
Mr. President, I stand here today as a co-sponsor of the Cut, Cap, and Balance legislation and as a supporter of that legislation. Here's the insanity that has